Hey guys, Caleb here from CDBS Studios, and today's review is on a movie that was not on my radar at all. So today's review is on the movie Michael, and this movie was one that was on the list of I might check it out eventually, and I was probably not going to see it in theaters, as I'm personally not a huge biopic person, as I just don't find the movies where it's like, hey, let's just take the look at the life of a single famous person. Those movies have always been kind of hit or miss with me, especially if it's about someone I'm not super into. But I'm into Michael Jackson music. I mean, who isn't? So I was looking, it was definitely on the list of I'll check Michael out eventually. And then I saw a couple trailers, and the movie looked really promising. Like, I was kind of surprised. So I decided to move it from my list of I'll see it eventually to I'm going to see it in theaters. And I definitely went into the movie with very mixed expectations because before I went in, I of course was clued into all of the reviews on the film that had came out prior to my go, and I was really shocked at the discourse this movie is collecting, as the critics seem to absolutely despise this thing, and the audience seems to love it. So I was really curious about this movie. You're probably asking where I sit on the movie personally. Well, why don't we start talking about the movie, and I will share my thoughts, and then we can get into how I feel about the movie itself. The first thing that I absolutely have to praise about this movie is the performances. I genuinely forgot that I was watching a movie, as the performances were so good that I didn't see actors. I genuinely saw Michael Jackson and his family. Like, I genuinely had to remind myself closer towards the end that I was watching my that I was watching a movie, because the performances sucked me in and it just felt like a documentary. Like, Jafar Jackson is so good at embodying Michael Jackson in his mannerisms, in his voice, in everything from here on out. And by the end, he just straight up looks like Michael Jackson, that I completely forgot that it wasn't Michael Jackson for a while there. And I also have to praise Coleman Domingo. He is so great at playing Joseph, and it really is great to see him play this character that you absolutely are meant to despise, but at the same time, you can appreciate where he's coming from, and that's really hard to do. I really hope both of these actors get nominations come award season because they are both so good. And I also can praise the kid as well that we see at the start of the film, who's young Michael Jackson, because man, he also is great at those younger scenes, which we don't spend a lot of time with him, mainly because I'm assuming that because we need to have Jafar Jackson be the top billing, so we have to get to older Michael pretty quickly. But other than that, they are all giving powerhouse performances. And like I said, I genuinely forgot this was a fictional movie for a while there in the middle, because man, it was so good. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the music. Pretty much, obviously, going into this movie, I knew that they were going to do the Michael Jackson music, which I'm a fan of Michael Jackson music, so I was pretty enjoyable on that. And the music was just something I was expecting to go in. But this movie used the Michael Jackson music in really clever ways to kind of use another film as a reference, which was kind of what I was nervous this movie would do, is my least favorite movie from last year, that being Hurry Up Tomorrow. Hurry Up Tomorrow is another movie about a musical artist, that being The Weeknd. But that movie always paused whatever was happening in the film to basically be like, hey, remember Blinding Lights? Remember this weekend song? Remember this weekend song that I don't know the names of because I'm apparently uncultured? And it annoyed me so heavily that Hurry Up Tomorrow just said, let's pause every time we want to mention a new Weeknd song so that we can get more Weeknd songs in this thing. But here in Michael, every single time a Michael Jackson song gets used, it is cleverly integrated. As a lot of the time they do the classic movie biopic thing for musical artists where we'll see them writing the song or we'll see them performing it before they actually go to perform it live and all that. But in other cases, they are also able to give us so many different songs about Michael Jackson. The movie doesn't just go pause and say, hey, remember ABC? Remember Bad? Remember Thriller of all things? They cleverly integrated those musical pieces into either montages that were meant to showcase the passage of time for the characters, or they did cleverly shot concerts to perform those songs. And it never once was distracting when a Michael Jackson song would come on, because it always felt like it was cleverly integrated into the story. It wasn't just, hey, we need to put another Michael Jackson song in this. We need a Michael Jackson song for this scene. Let's go grab a random one. It was, they always picked very meticulously which ones to include. And even they chose to end the film on Bad, which was pretty amazing. Like, I honestly was kind of shocked as we got closer to the end of the film. I was like, we haven't played Bad once yet. And then the big finale of the movie is this epic concert to Bad, which was pretty amazing. Overall, the music was cleverly integrated into this movie, and it was a breath of fresh air from what I thought they were going to do with the music in this movie. And now we're just going to talk about the other technical elements about the movie. First off, we're going to talk about the pacing. Now, the pacing is, I'm not going to lie, pretty phenomenal. I mentioned earlier on that the movie kind of spends very little time with young Michael Jackson because, like I mentioned, I have this tinfoil hat theory that in order to get Jafar Jackson top billing, they needed to get to Jafar Jackson quickly. So we don't spend as much time with young Michael and his family as much as I really wanted to. But after that, they paced this movie really perfectly, pretty much going from one Michael Jackson important life piece to the next, and it overall creates a very good experience as you go through Michael Jackson's life, seeing so many of his highs and some of his lows, and it was so great to see that over the course of this movie. This movie is listed as 2 hours, and it never once felt like 2 hours, which I think is pretty important. I'll also say that the cinematography in this movie is so inspired. They, like I mentioned already, the concert sequences in this movie feels like they had so much fun shooting those, and they had visions for how they wanted to shoot them. There were moments in this movie where genuinely, again, I forgot it was a movie because especially in some of those concerts, it just felt like suddenly I got a ticket to a front row seat at a Michael Jackson show because that's how great that the cinematography is at sucking you in. And then even in the slower moments where we need to be a little bit more serious, they really did well at making those camera shots count. It's not this big sweeping cinematography every single time we need it. It's always pick and choose. We have the big epic concert sequence, and then we have some more dramatic sequences for the scenes that need it. And I think that all makes the movie so much more encapsulating because it makes those sequences stand out when the cinematography jumps off the screen. It reminded me a lot of Sinners for a lot of it. And overall, the story is just great. The Michael Jackson story has some of its moments that we're not proud of to talk about, which makes me kind of nervous if they are going to move forward with making a Michael sequel. But other than that, the story was fine. It's exactly what I expected going in, and it still sucked me into the world, which I absolutely adored. So, probably you can tell by now that due to the lack of negativity in this entire review, I firmly sit with the camp that this movie was amazing and was an easy 10 out of 10 for me. I absolutely loved Michael, And the more I've thought about it, I genuinely am struggling to find any flaws to talk about. And for that reason, this is now my favorite movie of the entire year. I have I did mention a little bit in my Project Hail Mary review that I did even have some flaws with that movie, but I genuinely can't find any flaws here in Michael from my own opinion. This was an experience and it was so great. And I'm so happy I didn't listen to the critics and saw this in the theaters because I would have hated watching this later on a smaller screen and I would have wanted to see it on the big screen. So please, if you're skeptical and you're able to go to the theaters, I highly recommend it for this movie because it was a blast. And I could definitely understand why some people aren't big on it because if you're not a Michael Jackson fan, I can understand maybe why you wouldn't be into this. But if you are, I'd say check this movie out because it really is that good. So I want to thank you guys all very much for watching this review, and I want to know if you have seen Michael. Let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments, and maybe we can get a conversation going. Without further ado, thank you guys all very much for watching this video. I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Bye, guys.